There was an effort over the internet. There were petitions circulated to major NATO supporters from key Democrats, mostly from the liberal community, the consumer advocacy community, but they failed in that effort. And some Democrats also privately saying tonight, and one publicly, Ed Rendell, the general chairman of the Democratic National Committee, they're not just pointing fingers at Nader, they're pointing fingers directly at the Gore strategy. Mr. Rendell telling us earlier he thinks they should not have pulled out of Ohio so early. And look at the 6 electoral votes in Arkansas. If the vice president had won those, he could win the White House by winning the other 3 outstanding states, not Florida. President Clinton went to his home state only once to campaign on Sunday. That was because the Gore campaign controlled his schedule. The sharp criticism from Mr. Rendell tonight that they should have let the president out of the box much earlier, especially in Arkansas and perhaps elsewhere.
Well, Clinton actually tried to so subtly indicate to Gore. You remember, John, a few days ago when people were saying to Clinton, visiting him, you know, you really should be out there, and Clinton said, tell Gore, tell Gore.
Well, Bernie, the Gore research did show, and other Democratic pollsters would agree with this, that the president could be hurtful in some areas of the country. But what Mr. Rendell was saying tonight, just in the case of Arkansas, look at those 6 electoral votes. If we could have won those. His other criticism was in Ohio. That criticism echoed by some leaders of organized labor. They believe they had a pretty good operation in Ohio, but the Gore campaign in the final week went from $1 million a week on television to $200,000 a week on television. They left themselves no room for error. That is the criticism some Democrats hearing tonight. They left themselves no room for error at all. So when they lost here in Tennessee and then the president's home state of Arkansas, now they have to win Florida, and of course they're losing right now.
All right, John King in Nashville, Candy Crowley in Austin. It is early in the morning, 1:15 Eastern time. I guess it's 12:15 there in Texas, in Austin, Texas. We are watching an extraordinary presidential election unfold. We're going to take a break. When we come back, among other things, we're going to hear from the Capitol gang. Stay with us. It's a presidential race that is hat-band tight, as somebody said. We are going to the Capitol gang right now for some analysis and insight, and we're going to start with Al Hunt in Washington.
Thank you, Judy. None of us have hats on, but I'm here with Bob Novak and Cato Byrne. Robert, coming down to Florida, Palm Beach, Broward, Dade County.
This is just an amazing thing that we're picking what we used to call the leader of the free world. We still call him the leader of the free world, I think. President of the United States, very important office. These votes were cast, the polls closed in Florida 6 hours ago. This is the year 2000, not the year 1932, and we're still counting them. And it's this agonizing process of deciding whether Vice President Gore, in these closing hours of this contest, and they voted a long time ago, there's nothing going on, is whether they can bridge the gap. It's now, what, 50,000 votes between them? And I've been trying to do projections, not very good at math. I think it comes very, very close, but probably no cigar. Of course, just to repeat, if George Bush wins Florida, he's elected president. If Al Gore wins it, he probably wins it, because I think he'll probably win the other state necessary to get over the top.
Kate, if George Bush does win it, either that combination of the 3 states or winning Florida, CNN has already projected the Republicans will control the House. If they win one of those remaining 3 Senate seats, they'll control the Senate. That would be a sweep. That'd get everything, but it'd be a pretty lame sweep, wouldn't it?
It'd be a very big sweep, Al. Let me just notice the irony. In a long night, the first returns we know are House Republicans held on to the House. The nasty, unpopular House Republicans who impeached the president. The people who have said, where are you, who are persona non grata in Philadelphia, who was supposed to be such a drag on the Republicans. And the first thing we know tonight is that the House Republicans held on. Right. And the Senate is still in some doubt. Al, as you know, Republicans, it appears, have lost 2 seats. They could lose a couple of more. So
Everything is close. Everything
it's just
that moves,
unbelievable. Yes.
Everything that moves is close out there. You know, I have one thought about Ralph Nader. It's only the second worst scenario for Democrats, because even though he's probably going to cost, or he may well cost Al Gore several states, the worst nightmare of Democrats was that he would do that and get 5% of the vote, which would make him a permanent fixture, at least eligible for federal money in 4 years. It appears, Bob, he's not going to get that 4%.
Yeah, it's another great victory for the two-party system, right. I would believe. And our old colleague Pat Buchanan really had almost a humiliating election. I want to go back to what Kate was talking about, the House staying Republican. You know, in this town, in Washington, it has been a matter of holy writ for about a year that the Democrats were going to regain control of the House this year. Now, they may in 2002, but who knows what lies ahead. But this was holy writ, and the lobbyists were pouring money into the Democratic coffers. Charlie Rangel was measuring the drapes to be chairman of the Ways and Means Committee.
And the rope.
Pardon?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and Speaker Gephardt, that's what they called him, Speaker Gephardt, in the cloakroom. This is really a blow. As we sit here, we don't know who's going to control the Senate, but the Democrats never really thought they were going to control it.
And Bob, the House Republicans deserve credit. Dick Gephardt really got his members to sit tight. The Republicans were defending many more seats, and they played it really smart. They played local elections. They had their members do what they had to do locally to win. I mean, it's a win they fought for, and they deserve credit.
They loaded up with pork, with highway dams, everything.
You know what
the big spending Republicans, and it worked.
Well, they turned the tables. I mean, it is very difficult to knock off incumbent members of a majority party, as the Republicans learned over 40 years, and that's something Dick Gephardt's appreciating. He won't have this kind of luck, though, between now and 2002, keeping his members where they are. There'll be some retirements now.
I think we'll find that at most there's 7 or 8 incumbents that lost tonight. So once again, the system is an Incumbents Protection Act for both parties in the House.
You know, in the Senate, why is it that the Republicans in the Senate had such a hard time keeping their seats, particularly on a percentage basis? A lot of them were not very attractive candidates that lost now. Senator Roth, a fine gentleman, really shouldn't have won. His time in Delaware, his time had come. And I think particularly in the Senate, the personality of the person is much more important than it is in the House.
Well, on personality, Bob, we'll wrap up for the night. We'll go back to Judy Woodruff in Atlanta with more on this nail biter.
All right, it is a nail biter. We're all still sitting on the edge of our seats, such as they are at this hour. We've been here for, 8 hours and counting, and we're not leaving until we know who the next president's going to be. Much more to come.
What if we don't know?
Bernie's wondering, what do we do if we don't know?
Bring us food.
We'll be here. We're going to take a break. We'll come back.
The American people, indeed people around the world, are watching a historic, unprecedented fight in a number of ways. A fight for control of the White House. Vice President Al Gore and Governor George Bush are locked in battle right now. Taking you to our electoral vote map. At this hour, Governor Bush 4 electoral votes ahead of the Vice President. Bush 246, Gore 242. Florida, a state too close to call at this hour, is one of 4 states still outstanding. Here they are. Florida, 25 electoral votes. Iowa has 7, as does Oregon. Wisconsin, 11. Look in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. The governor has 246 electoral votes. He only needs 24 to go to the White House. On the left side up there, Gore, 242 electoral votes. His key to the White House, 28 electoral votes. Now, we mentioned Florida is too close to call. This is the raw vote. Look at this, with 94% of the precincts reporting in the Sunshine State. Governor Bush with 49%, or 2.6 million votes, to the Vice President's 49% and 2.6 million votes. Ralph Nader, 2% of the vote. Pat Buchanan and Hagelin, but Nader the factor there, as we've been noting all this evening.